Hello, everybody. Welcome back to twitch.tv/Style Esports for another evening of Styles. Season 15, Week 4 continues tonight with a best-of-3 match between rank 33 No Quarter Gaming and rank 56 Level LOL. No Quarter Gaming, unfortunately, did suffer a 0-2 defeat last week at the hands of Team China. Despite not being able to take a Nexus, NQG did put up quite a fight in Game 2. ADC Muzra was 19-3-9 on Misfortune, and the team managed to hang on for almost 45 minutes before being unable to secure the win. Their opponents tonight, Level LOL, did not manage to fit in a match last week, but they did take a 2-1 win over We Strike First in Week 2. In the squad's wins, they had strong performances across the board, with mid laner Epic maintaining an especially impressive 0 deaths across the team's 2 wins in that match. Will Level LOL be able to level up tonight and take down a higher ranked team, or will No Quarter Gaming be true to their name and give their opponents no quarter this time around? My name is Crewman. I'm joined tonight by the terrific Thousand Eyes. How are we feeling tonight, Tessa?
I'm feeling pretty good. Excited to be back. Haven't been on Style for a good long while here. And I'm excited to see these teams
Welcome
go at
back.
it. This is definitely going to be a tough game, I think, for Level LOL, because they are up against, I think, a bit of a stronger team overall, just in terms of rank and skill level. So they're definitely going to have their backs up against the wall going into tonight.
Absolutely. Oops, that's the wrong draft link. Let me put in the correct draft link for you guys. Sorry about that. But yes, certainly, Thousand Eyes, we're very happy to have you back. Welcome back to Style Esports here. And we shall see, indeed, if Level LOL are going to be able to find the upset. They do have at least a little bit of momentum. But, as I mentioned, that win was a couple of weeks ago. So maybe not
Mhm.
all that much momentum necessarily.
Yeah, as we do go through draft here, seeing a couple of meta bans, couple of more target bans. Vigar has been pretty strong lately, so if you do have a mid laner that does play that, it is a worthy ban. Melio also has been very, very good. I've been playing I've become a Melio one trick at this point. So
Oh,
that champion
interesting.
is
Okay.
very, very strong. The Gnar ban on the other side is definitely a target ban because that is Svaboda's most played champion by far so far this season. So that one's definitely being taken off the board for a reason. The Misfortune is left available, and that's what's going to be taken. I'm surprised that's not going to be the Jinx, but not so much because that is Muzra's best champion, definitively,
Yeah.
both in play rate and in win rate.
Absolutely. Some very impressive performances on that Misfortune. And, as you mentioned, the Jinx, probably pretty inarguably the strongest meta
Yep.
AD carry right now. But, obviously No Quarter Gaming passing up on that one does mean that the option goes over to level LOL, but they're going with the Aphelios instead. I think the Aphelios is just a
Huh.
better matchup into the Misfortune, or what do you make of that lock-in?
I I'm assuming that that's just they want the Thresh Aphelios. I think Thresh Jinx is
Sure.
good. I mean, obviously, when people think of a Thresh first pick, and it makes sense because the support gain 19, lose 27 definitely plays a lot of Thresh, has a lot of Thresh in the recent play history. So it makes sense that you might go like, oh, well, we have the Aphelios. Let's play the Aphelios. Looks like they've had a couple of Aphelios Thresh games in recent history. So it looks like they're favoring that. I think the Jinx is the better option here, and I'm a little surprised it's just going to get passed up throughout the entire draft. The Pike lock in here, this is the pocket pick here for Death Instinct. Lots of aggression in this bot lane for No Quarter here, and I don't know if Thresh is going to be exactly enough to keep Aphelios safe in this lane.
Yeah, could be difficult. Pike can be a very scary champion to go up against. Obviously, if the Aphelios does end up getting hooked, you do have the Dark Passage to try and get back out towards safety, in theory at least. But definitely the Pike and the Misfortune can do quite a bit of burst. If that hook does land, you're going to be eating a lot of damage probably before you have the opportunity to click that lantern. So, we'll see if the Misfortune and the Pike are able to find a nice early advantage in the laning phase because they probably will get outscaled by that Aphelios, right?
Definitively, yeah. I mean, even if you go for the on-hit misfortune, which is pretty strong and scales decently, Aphelios is just a late-game monster. And especially if you're comfortable on that champion, you could do some crazy, crazy things in those late-game team fights. Speaking of late-game team fights, we do have the Wukong to give a little bit more of that front to back there. Wukong, obviously pretty strong in the early game, known for his ganks, can get the Aphelios fed, and then with the Cyclone is a great engage tool, a great even peeling tool, as the Pike will want to dive in, and that could stop that pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other side as well, right? The Fiddlesticks is another really powerful team fighting threat coming through from No Quarter Gaming. You know, if that's a nice Crow Storm that ends up coming through, that can set up for a bullet time, and that can one-shot your entire team if it's set up properly. So some pretty strong team fighting, I feel, coming out on both sides. Really feels like that's what both of these teams are kind of indexing into in this first draft.
Yeah, so what does worry me from No Quarter at the very least is they don't have like a frontliner. They have like Fiddlestick. Oh, well, okay. Now they fixed that.
There he is.
I was gonna say
There's
they have
a frontliner.
Fiddlesticks, great for like a team fight, engage, like hit the fear, but he dies very quick if you just focus him. The Pike, very similar, can get the hook, can just flash across the team and create a good opportunity, but once again, very, very squishy. The Scion, however, one of the best tank top laners currently in the game, I think, and just scales incredibly well.
Sure.
Against the Ornn, there's not a whole lot Ornn can do to try and pressure the Scion. He can just clear and keep Ornn in the lane pretty effectively. And it's really difficult to try and stop him from scaling up and getting all that extra health. I'm going to be watching the build because I'm going to be a little upset if I see just health stacking on this Scion. That's not what you want to be doing.
Really looking for that armor stacking against the Wukong Aphelios, right?
Yeah, I mean, just
so
resistance in general.
Sure, fair enough. Yes, obviously, I imagine some magic damage will be coming through here. Going to be the Ahri on R5 for level LOL, going towards Asphyxia there in the mid lane. What do you think about that Ahri pick into the Lissandra specifically?
Yeah, so this is just trying to match the wave clear. Lissandra does hit a point where she does wave clear and then just is able to roam, and with her ultimate can be really good at wreaking havoc, shaking up the momentum of a game. Really good at that. The Ahri, on the other hand, can match that pretty well, can just clear waves, match up, has the ult to be able to get in and out of fights. It does mean that you have a little bit of pick potential now on your team for level LOL. They are getting a little bit more aggressive in that mid game. The question then becomes, when you get to the later portions of the game, what does this Ahri do? And the answer really is hopefully kill Pike or Misfortune, because the Lissandra's going to ult, the Scion's going to be beefy, the Fiddlesticks is going to have the W to stay alive, and Ahri rotation is not going to kill any of those three. You have to get in the backline in order to do anything as the Ahri here.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, though, you know, the Ahri has some defensive capabilities as well, you know, to try and not get caught out by any undertows or, you know, glacial prisons or excuse me, frozen tombs. Oh, I just got the Lissandra and such.
I mix that up all the time.
I mean, they're very kind of similar thematically.
Glacial prison, so. Like it's both icy place you're stuck in. Like
yeah,
there's
100%.
They're just synonyms.
But either way, you know, the Ahri is going to be wanting to avoid getting frozen and being stuck in place. That is not something that she's really going to be looking for. So we'll see if she's able to accomplish that. Also, a very strong duo with the Wukong as well. That mid-jungle duo can be extremely potent once they do hit that level 6 mark.
Yeah, definitely. It's really strong in the mid game here. You can see the Wukong Ahri just kind of like wreak havoc, and that's where we talked about the Lissandra and the Pike probably shaking things up in the mid game and kind of messing up with the flow of the game. That's what you're going to get from Wukong and Ahri. If we do see level LOL start to get a lead, you can continue the pressure, keep it active, and there really won't be a great answer until a little bit more defensive stats get onto the Scion, until the Lissandra gets to be enough of a threat that she can push off those two champions there. I'm really just going to be keeping my eyes on the bot lane here for No Quarter Gaming, because Pike Misfortune is a lane that wants to come out decently. If you do not have a decent lead in that lane, you are just hoping you can get a good Pike ult in the mid game to catch yourself back up to the point where you should be ahead again.
Yeah, it really feels like kind of the whole draft for No Quarter Gaming is revolving around that bot side. On the rest of the draft, obviously Fiddlesticks is going to have quite a bit of damage eventually, but it's really feels like it's mostly set up for the bullet time, right? They're definitely
Yeah.
looking for those big team fight wombo combos, and that's kind of how the composition has to function. Whereas on the other side for level LOL, it feels like a little bit of a more balanced draft where they have some different options that they can play through. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, I think both teams are favoring more of a team fight style. The issue being, the
Yeah,
difference
yeah.
being rather, that the Ari Charm and the Thresh Hook do change things up a lot. You have that ability to kind of just grab somebody, start a fight, go for those skirmishy kind of fights instead of the full on front to back team fights. I think both teams will do pretty well. I think the biggest thing though is you either have to get a really good engage for the side of No Quarter Gaming, or you have to get a really good counter engage. Like it has to be like everybody using their abilities pretty much simultaneously here in order to make this composition as strong as it possibly can be. If you have the Fiddlesticks ult down, or if you have the Lissandra ult down, the Misfortune ult doesn't really have a great opportunity to hit a lot of people, and you're just kind of hoping for the best in that scenario. Whereas I'd say Ord ult is enough to make a team fight work out for level LOL.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very powerful engage tool, can be very, very effective in those team fights. But, obviously we could end up seeing that from either side given these compositions. But my question for you, Thousand Eyes, one more question I should say before we go to this break is, do you have a preference overall between these two compositions? Do you feel like either one of our teams was able to come away with a meaningful advantage in the draft for game one?
I'd say these compositions overall are pretty even, which means that I'm probably going to lean more towards No Quarter having an advantage here. We talked about that they have a stronger team overall in terms of just rank. So it makes me lean towards them a little bit. Obviously, rank is not everything. It matters. You
Yeah.
can play with your team, but I think they're picking champions that, one, they're very comfortable on, two, they have a solid form of composition for themselves. It's just very much built around their alt timer, and it depends on them playing around that.
100%. Well, we'll see if those comfort picks and if the higher rank will be good enough for No Quarter Gaming to take this first win and break their losing streak, or if the side of level LOL will be able to make some magic happen with their extremely powerful team fighting composition. Don't go anywhere, my friends. We're going to be right back with Style Esports Week 4 right after this. All right, everybody, Style fans, welcome to Summoner's Rift for Game 1 tonight. Of course, we do have No Quarter Gaming on the blue side and level LOL taking positions on the red. Very casual level 1 that we have here, Thousand Eyes. Any runes or summoner spells that you find particularly interesting?
Not entirely, no. I mean, we do have pretty standard across the board. The Dark Harvest on the pike is a little interesting because generally if you hit a point later in the game where they're under half HP, they're pretty close to being in your execute range unless they're like the Ornn. Usually you see the Hail of Blades just because it gives you a lot of laning presence. You hook, then you hit the 3 autos and you get a lot of extra damage. Everything else pretty standard. Fiddlesticks with the first strike is pretty common, and the electrocute on the Lysandra pretty much just the one rune that she has left she can do.
Sad times for Lysandra, I suppose, not being able to utilize as many runes as before. But I'm sure there's still some like Aftershock users out there that are like trying to hold out and like remember the good times. But yeah, certainly the electrocute, the more common option on the Lysandra these days. And as you mentioned, Death Instinct on this bike, going to be looking for all of those big resets in the team fights with the Dark Harvest. We'll see if this bot lane is going to be able to pop off, because as we identified from the draft, that is going to be the main win condition for No Quarter Gaming in this first one.
Yeah, good start in the bot side here. A nice play into the autos on that Glacial there. Really good start, level 1 there, and that should be kind of how that goes. Basically, you play behind minions. Thresh can just use the E for a little bit of early harass. The level 2 is where it gets interesting, though.
There is that level 2 coming through, and Gain 19 is going to respect it. Just immediately flashes out of the way of that possible pike Q coming through. The Bone Skewer not going to land, but still a very worthwhile trade there for Death Instinct.
Yeah, I feel like you don't have to flash that. You don't have to flash that until you know it's going to hit you. And unfortunately, it was a bit early. Death Instinct gets a nice win out of that one. And that means another hook like that will mean that the Thresh is just going to take it.
There is a hook landing, but, obviously, as we can see, the Thresh is still very, very healthy down here in this bottom lane. So it does feel like maybe the flash could have been held onto there. We even saw that hook landing and not really a whole lot coming of it. So regardless, Gain 19, probably not wanting to play this early laning phase. Oh, that's going to be a Death Sentence landing. Good. The flay back, that's one turret shot going on to the pike. Pretty nice trade there from the Thresh, getting a hook back.
Yeah, a lot of damage taken, though, by Gain 19. So there's a low health Thresh. Does take away a lot of the opportunities to play aggressive in this lane, and the pike will heal up a lot of that damage because it is mostly champion damage that was taken. We do see top side as well. A lot of trading back and forth. Fuego going to take a lot of damage off that one. You always got to check those bushes.
But he has the Searing Charge to get back towards the turret. The Orny boy is going to be okay for now. We do have the jungler for No Quarter Gaming, the Fiddlesticks, on that top side of the map right now. Just secured the Scuttle Crab. Junglers did, of course, exchange crabs, clearing towards opposite sides here in the early minutes.
Yeah, and I think overall that makes sense. I don't think they're really expecting a whole lot out of the top side, but now Wukong in a bit of a weird spot because bot lane has been struggling a lot. Ganking for this is going to be a little rough unless a good hook is hit from the Thresh. I don't think you can really have the bait hook come out. If you get hooked by the pike here, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, it seems like a tough angle for level LOL. That is going to be Death Sentence landing, though. But the Lantern is not grabbed by Balin in time. And now Gain 19 is running out of HP. No flash, remember, on the Thresh, and the flash forward for Muzra secures the first blood. Now here comes Balin looking to maybe get one back. Cizo as well on the Aphelios, looking like he is ready to take down this Misfortune. Will be able to do so. The last auto attack comes through, and it turns into a 1-for-1 in the bottom lane. But Muzra gets the first blood.
Yeah, so this is a weird mix here. Now, obviously, this does work out a little bit better for Muzra, specifically because Fiddlesticks is in the bot lane here. That honestly would have been a little bit more even if there was no Fiddlesticks to catch the wave and you got the ability to shove that wave in. So the Misfortune will come out ahead there, gets the Noon Quiver, looking for a little bit more lane control in that lane. Meanwhile, you look at the Aphelios here, as our tanks do tank things. The Aphelios picking up the Cull or I think already had the call, and getting boots and the pickaxe. So that's definitely signaling a lot more champion damage that is wanted there. The Noon Quiver will control the minions, will do a lot more damage to the minions. Meanwhile, the pickaxe doing a lot more to the enemy champions.
Yeah, absolutely. Noon Quiver at 5 minutes feels really, really nice for Muzra, no doubt about it. But, as you just mentioned, Aphelios stacking up that call, not really playing for the laning phase necessarily, as Schizo on this Aphelios just wants to get towards those team fights. There's a nice searing charge from Fuego. These tanks are getting pretty low, but the Ornn, I think, is successfully pushed in. Oh, and that quite
No,
actually
not
got
yet.
that wave in. A little bit of an awkward
Yeah.
spot now for Fuego.
Yeah, no knowledge of where Fiddlesticks is. I think Fuego just kind of has to take the loss on this and probably back. We'll see. I also want to point out the Lissandra getting the early Sork shoes here, which gives me the indication there's going to be a Lissandra roaming here
There she goes. Yeah, on the roam right now is the Lissandra. A nice Bellows Breath from Fuego to actually immune the knock-up there, but will still have to expend the flash to get to safety.
Yeah, good flash. And that's kind of what I was saying there of like, you've just got to take the loss there. You didn't get the wave in. You're risking your life if you go any further. Charm going to hit.
Yeah, this is Wukong not quite level 6 yet, though. So while Ahri and Wukong are very close to that spike, as Gain 19 going to get pulled in, but the hook in return. A couple of skill shots landing down here, but nothing more going to come of it just yet. Another hook lands. Oh, that's big. Aphelios now flashing away. Has the Lantern, the Dark Passage, but he's still taking so much damage here. And Muzra and Death Instinct starting to put on some pressure down here in the bot 2v2.
Yeah, and this is kind of what's expected from the MF Pyke here, right around level 6.
Yeah, again, an exchange of hooks, but Gain 19 is continuing to get the worst end of these. Aphelios and Thresh now both pretty low HP, forced back underneath the turret.
Yeah, I mean, with these trades, it's going like technically even early on, but then Pyke does just get to heal back up from his passive. So it is not exactly working out, unfortunately, there. I think you're really just looking at getting a solid pick into some jungle ganks here. I don't think that you're going to win these trades anymore because the Pyke is starting to do enough damage with that hook, and the Misfortune has the easy PTA proc in these fights. It's hard to take these quick trades.
It really, really is. Oh, the bullet time as well. That's going to be another kill. Muzra picks up their second.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cost. That's the cost of all of those rough trades there. You end up with being low health, and it's very easy for Misfortune to kill under tower if she hits that E into ultimate.
Yep. Absolutely, yeah. You can do it from such long range as well. Here comes the Wukong, though. The death from below will secure the kill for Death Instinct. The Cyclone now. Balin over the wall. Goes the Crowstorm, but doesn't manage to get the fear. We'll have to cast the Q on the Wukong to secure that one. And here comes the level 7 Ahri. Ooh, misses the charm there as she Spirit Rushes over the wall. Here comes the Lissandra, though, for the follow-up. And that is going to be the kill onto the Wukong. Asphyxia and Balin not actually coming out ahead in this skirmish. Wukong obviously already committing the Cyclone to finish off the support. Meant he didn't have that for the 2v2. And it's a side of No Quarter Gaming that are opening up with a little bit of a lead.
Yeah, and that's already, top lane.
Call the Forge God. Yeah, Fuego looking for it here. Going to find the knock-up. Soul Furnace from Svoboda for a little bit of a shield. Scion looking like he's probably going to be able to walk out of this one. Fiddlesticks. Look at that. Oh, no, that's actually just a skit. That's the fake Fiddlesticks. I got baited so hard there.
Even we are not
the illusion of Fiddlesticks.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the real Fiddlesticks, definitely, that Gain 19 has found in the jungle here. A little bit of an aggressive solo warding mission there from the Thresh. Not exactly the ticket, I don't think.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Gain 19 is having a really rough time here, and it's not really going to get much better, too. You can see going for the Shirelias, too, means that you're losing a lot of that in-lane tank stats. So now you're going to die quicker and quicker. You're losing out on, the burst coming down there. You get in Pyke ult range a lot quicker. Yeah. And that is going to be really difficult to deal with as the game does go further and further on.
Definitely. Yeah, I wonder, the Shirelias obviously can be very powerful in team fights. So, Gain 19 just thinking that, that's what he wants to play for. He's not really interested in being durable in the laning phase, just trying to rely on his ability to dodge these bone skewers, but hasn't really been working out for the Thresh so far.
Yeah, I mean, I
Oh,
Ooh.
Crowstorm over the wall. Plasmid looking for this one. Doesn't get the fear again,
He's
but
not worth
will
money,
be able to
guys.
cast that Q and gain 19. Doesn't have anywhere to go. And now Skizzo in trouble. The bullet time over the top. Death from below. Not going to mark the spot, but still the kill will come through. It's number 2 for the Pike and number 7 for NQG.
And this is kind of what I was worried about when we were in Champ Select of like Pike Misfortune is really aggressive and Thresh has a really long cooldown on just the Lantern. That's
True.
not going to be a lot to keep you alive in this kind of lane. Really difficult to work with there. And when you add in the Fiddlesticks on top of that, it's really difficult. I also just on that Shirley's point, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think in scenarios where you are definitively the team fight team and you want to get your team in there, I think it's great. You're up against a team that also wants to team fight.
Yeah.
And you also want that locket for the durability.
Oh dear. Balin has the Warrior Trickster just about able to get out of the CC range of that Undertow. And the Wukong has a Lantern to click on. He will be okay for now. But yeah, I definitely hear your point there, Thousand Eyes. You know, when you're going to be able to activate that Shirelius as the Thresh, and then your teams, they're running really fast. They're running towards your opponents, but unfortunately, that's exactly where your opponents want you to be. So
yeah,
definitely hear you. Not necessarily an item that we are huge fans of on the caster desk here, but we'll see if Gain 19 is going to be able to get some good use out of it. Is probably going to need to, as they have already found themselves in almost a 3K gold deficit. Here comes Death Instinct into the mid lane. Oh, looking for that Frozen Tomb, but the Spirit Rush activation in time for Asphyxia to get out of danger.
And a very good recognition of like, Lissandra's going in on me. Pike is nearby. I need to get out of here. Not, running and wasting the time, having to maybe waste the flash because you're not like fully aware of the danger that you're in. So Asphyxia playing that well enough to stay alive. And that does mean that it is just going to be the reset in the mid lane there for Protide.
Yes, very respectful from the Ahri there. You'll love to see it. And also, speaking of being respectful, those are some very early Mercury treads for Asphyxia. So, I do think it's a pretty intelligent buy into the AP mid-jungle of NQG in this game. Gonna be able to provide some extra resistances and a little bit of immunity to all of that CC, between the fear and all of the roots from Lissandra.
Yeah, right now, we're just seeing a little bit more of a lull here as the game state is just going to even out. I did want to point out, too, if you have not been seeing top lane tank play as maybe a little bit of fight here.
Here comes Balin over the wall. Going to go for the Cyclone onto the Lissandra. Do they have enough? Protide, that's the flash word for his fix. It gets the flash away in response from Protide. Both mid laners exchanging the flash there. Lissandra just able to survive, but just coming back to lane and losing all your HP like that is definitely a little bit of a tricky spot for Protide.
Yeah, it's just going to be the reset, and I don't think you lose too much. You do lose the Wukong ultimate, though, as the Dragon's going to be spawning. Minute 20, I think, should be back in time for that. But anyway, the point that I wanted to get here is the Bomby Cinder is such a good laning item that people have realized, hey, it doesn't matter if I can't build a mythic out of this. It's just really helpful to have early on in a lane. So all of these tanks are building the mommies and then just sitting on it.
We have Plasmid lying in wait. The call of the Forge God. Here comes the Crow Storm. Doesn't quite get the fear on his fix. It might not matter. So Voda taking a lot of damage. Ignited, burning down the shield from the Soul Furnace will just barely keep the Scion alive.
Asphyxia has ult.
Yeah, I think, I already used all the charges, though, on that Spirit Rush. Oh, but Scion stood in place to charge up the Decimating Smash, and the Orb of Deception will be good for the kill. Asphyxia gets their first of the game, and one back on the board for level LOL.
Yeah, good roam up there, and now they've just got to watch here. They're going to go in on this fiddle.
Spirit Rush coming back. Yeah, Plasmid stepping too far forward there, greedily looking to stop those backs. Here comes the mid laner, though. Can Protide save the jungler and turn this one around? Fiddlesticks trying to stay alive for as long as possible. The healing from the W almost enough, but eventually will get cut down. Protide looking to make it a 2-for-2, but not going to be able to do so all by himself. Lissandra backs away, and it turns into, I believe, a 2-for-1 overall in favor of Leopard.
Yeah, and that does just give them another little bit of a win here. While they're behind, they're trading favorably for themselves. That's a huge bonus for them, as the Dragon is going to be spawning just now. Both these junglers going to be looking to get over there as soon as they can. And they will be, I think, our first full-on team fight that we have had this game. Tanks won't be there.
Been waiting for.
Yeah, we're not going to see the Ornn there. Scion does have the TP, though, so you could see a pretty sizable advantage here if this fight goes on for too long and they bring that Scion down.
Indeed, the TP is now unleashed, of course, because we are past 14 minutes. So you're absolutely right, Thousand Eyes, that Scion could easily make his way down here. That's going to be a death sentence on a Death Instinct, but the Pike seems to be okay for now. Flay not quite connecting there. They're not able to lock him down for long enough. The Bone Skewer there, and a little bit of CC on a gain 19. But again, just jockeying for position right now as the teams are grouping up in this bot side river, getting ready to go for this team fight. Swoboda also having the Unstoppable Onslaught, the ultimate for the Scion, as another option to try and get down here and join. That's a nice hook onto the Fiddlesticks.
Zonias.
That's the ticket that they were looking for Level LOL. They immediately pick off the jungler. Now Protide goes deep for this one, but already down a member. The teleport has come through, but the mid laner has already gone down. It's a shutdown over to gain 19 on the Thresh. Pike manages to get one back with the death from below, and now both junglers are down, but Swoboda surrounded by all of these red health bars. The Scion going to be forced to back away. Swoboda will survive, but it's the side of Level LOL that win the team fight.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that they didn't want to try and continue fight. I think Scion could have stayed in there, and they could have tried to fight to get the Pike ult on the Thresh, but maybe not wanting to risk that one, just taking the loss there. And that's an example of our team fight comp for No Quarter not being able to play as a team fight comp. How many? Oh, we still have a fight.
That's the call, the Forge God. Yeah, another knockup going to come through now onto the Scion, and Swoboda, he lived before, but might not be able to survive for too much longer now. The Orb of Deception comes out once again. Just a little bit more damage is needed. And the Scion, he's too tanky, Thousand Eyes. They can't kill him fast enough.
Yeah, they dodged out on the back pool of the REQ. So the true damage did miss there. And that was the difference there. But as far as that previous fight there, that was a fight that we saw Fiddlesticks ult was going on its own. We saw Lissandra ult going on its own. Scion ulted way back and ended up missing the team fight. That was just everything going wrong. On top of that, Fiddlesticks not getting the Zonias there. Did buy the Zonias, had that prepared to go for that fight, just never got an opportunity to use it. Yeah. And that means we're going to be seeing, unfortunately, the loss of that fight. But because everybody reset, we're just going to get a trade of objectives. Another dragon going over to No Quarter. And then on the top side, we're going to see the Rift Herald picked up. We'll see what we're going to get Level LOL to use that on, because they do want to use that, I think, pretty soon and at least get a little bit of advantage on this map.
Yeah. What do you think about that sort of macro call overall from Level LOL, Thousand Eyes? You know, making that decision to give away that second dragon in exchange for securing Shirley. They're going to go ahead and drop her straight away into this mid lane. They're going to be able to secure this tier 1 turret. So that is fairly worthwhile. Oh, dear, but the Crowstorm over the wall gets a massive fear. On to 4. It's Plasmid into the thick of things. He's golden. He's trying to buy time. The Fiddlesticks is going to get cut down. They trade it back as the Thresh is going to get X'd by the Pike, but the Lissandra is also going to go down. Herald's still alive as well. Oh, what was that execution from Death Instinct? Gets the reset on the ultimate, picks up another kill onto the top laner. So a 2 for 2 in the mid lane, and they do prevent the second charge from going through for the side of No Quarter.
Well, they didn't get a useful charge on that. I'm going to be entirely honest. They didn't. What ended up happening is they took the tower down before the charge hit, expecting to then get onto the second tower at full health so that they could turn that into something. Did not end up happening. So that Rift Herald, not useful. And the fact they go 2 for 2 sounds like an even, trade, and they get the tower. Oh, cool. That's great for them. Pike got 2 ultimate kills. That is 4 kills worth of gold that went over to No Quarter Gaming here. So Pike starting to ramp up and be a problem. And then on top of that, his teammates picking up essentially the kill gold as well. We're seeing now the stopwatch built on the Lissandra. So a lot more staying power in these fights, and dragging these fights out gives a little bit more opportunity for them to fight, as they will not be able to get the kill on Lissandra, have to play around that. And then hopefully Aphelios can just do enough damage for Level LOL to win the fights.
Not quite right, Thousand Eyes. That was overall, I think, a fairly favorable exchange for No Quarter Gaming. That much does seem clear, but Level LOL have been finding some good angles in this game so far as well, and that's kind of evidenced in the gold lead. It is a slight advantage for No Quarter Gaming, but only a couple of thousand gold. Really not that significant at this point in the game.
It's not, but at the same time, it feels like it's really difficult for Level LOL to try and get a favorable fight for themselves right now. The bigger thing that I'm watching right now is just what are the ult timers for No Quarter, because if those ults are down, their team fight presence is significantly lowered.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
for sure. Oh, the Crow Storm flash, but the Death Sentence onto the Fiddlesticks. He's going to get flayed back underneath the turret and plasma. He has the Zhonya's. He's going to be able to buy a little bit more time here. And the Death Sentence just a moment too early, but it's not going to matter because Balin is there with the Cyclone to clean up that kill. So once again, a 1-for-1 in the mid lane. Here comes Asphyxia looking for a little bit more. The Ignite comes down. Death Stink burning, ticking, gone, shut down. Going over to Asphyxia on the Ahri. And that is a nice counterattack from Level LOL. It was Plasmid looking for that play. But the squad not able to come out ahead. And Protide, yeah, getting charmed up. Lissandra going to be okay for now.
Yeah, this is looking actually a little bit better here. There's the aggressive Fiddlesticks ult there. And because it's not that full 5-on-5 team fight, what we want to see them do, they get it turned around on them because the power of the Wukong alongside that tower and the Thresh as well, just able to turn that around, get the kill, and the Ahri coming around with that ultimate, such a better skirmish tool than something like the Fiddlesticks has to ult in to actually really do his job.
Yeah, Plasmid has been utilizing these Crow Storms extremely aggressively. It hasn't necessarily been working out for him. Oh, the hook after the after the Gale Force. Death Instinct still lands it, and the death from below as well to secure the kill. This Pyke is looking pretty ban-worthy for game 2, Tessa, I gotta say.
The Pyke is looking really good. Had control of this lane as well as now just control of these fights. If they are pulling out wins, a lot of times it is just off the back of Death Instinct getting either good ultimates or good engages with that hook as well. And because that's right before the dragon, that does mean that it is pretty much a definitive dragon given over to No Quarter as they're going to engage here.
Oh dear, yeah, Balin in trouble. Another Crow Storm. It comes out. The Warrior Trickster to create a little bit of space for the Wukong, but the team fight ultimates are just too much for Level LOL to overcome. Balin, no Trickster left. The monkey's all out of tricks. He's going to get taken down, and there's a shutdown going now back over to the Lissandra for V3 on the map. And as you mentioned before, Thousand Eyes, this dragon is a certainty.
Yeah, it's about a little bit too big to go on the blast cone, apparently. And that will just be the dragon going over. And now that's Soul Point at 23 minutes here.
Pretty huge.
For the side of No Quarter. It just means in about 5 minutes here, we are going to have...
And obviously, Infernal Soul always feels pretty nice. It's just a really powerful soul in general. But I do think it is going to feel especially nice for champions like Fiddlesticks, like Misfortune. Having that extra burst damage just makes them that much more threatening.
Absolutely here.
Now the question is, at this point, you know, with this lead, how much do you think No Quarter Gaming are really in control of this one? Like, are we looking to set up Baron at this point? Like, are they that far ahead? You know, of course, after they get their ultimates back off cooldown, or are we really just want to play for this Infernal Soul and kind of continue to take things a little bit slower? What would you recommend for No Quarter Gaming here?
Yeah, I mean, I think they just have the power to force whatever they really want to, and the skirmish is just not gonna, like, it has to be skirmishy fights in order for the side of Level LOL to end up winning something out here. I think if you just go full, everybody's ults are up, and you try to fight at an objective, it's going to be definitively going over in favor of No Quarter. That said, we have seen the forces. We have seen the little bit of over-aggression. We have seen the lack of understanding where the rest of the team is and paying the price for that. So I think your best bet, is to try and force those objectives. But if you're going to try and force that objective, you want all of your team there, or at the very least have Sion ready to TP at a moment's notice.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see if the coordination is going to be tidied up a little bit for No Quarter Gaming. They're going to be able to end this one out a little bit cleaner than it began. Regardless, they are still in a very comfortable position, as we've been illustrating for you. The gold lead is still hovering around 3,000, so not the largest gold lead we've ever seen. It's Charm just wide left there for Asphyxia. Still looking for it. Got to be careful, though. I believe that is the real Fiddlesticks in the bush right now.
Yeah, it is. Also, that was Asphyxia's ult there, so this is not going to end well.
The Crow Storm, the fear, the damage. The Ahri trying to survive. Here comes Balin. He has the Cyclone Plasmid now going into the Zhonya to buy a little bit more time. R2 activation comes through from the Wukong. He's into the backline, but he's all by himself. and he's going to get taken down. Death Instinct claims another victim on the pike. The hook lands, but only onto the Science Boda. Comfortable to take up this turn for a little bit longer, and there goes Death Instinct into the back line, looking for the resets. The triple, the quadra is a possibility, but no, the shutdown comes through onto the pike, but still the damage you have to feel has been done. No Quarter Gaming clean up in the team fight. They secure the 5-for-1, and they get the Baron afterwards.
Yeah, and that's just a little bit of the risk that you run when you are behind on these kinds of compositions. You want to look for those engages, but if you don't always know where people are, you can pay the price with that. A really good start with the Fiddlesticks ult from Plasmid, and then the rest of the fight just kind of really stretching out in a way that the rest of the team could not help whenever Level LOL's teammates did go in. The Ari had to flash out immediately. Wukong super deep. By the time Ornn came, that fight was pretty much over already, and Pyke was resetting throughout the entire thing. The Baron going to be picked up here by No Quarter, and then the Dragon going to be spawning in a minute 30. They're going to have that Baron buff on for that, and you're fighting for soul at that point. It feels like this is all on No Quarter to close this one out.
100% agree, Thousand Eyes. They definitely, it feels like it's their game to lose at this point. They should be absolutely in control of this one. And I do think we should give some credit to Plasmid there. You know, we were just discussing how we had seen some over-aggressive engages, particularly from this Fiddlesticks, but that time, the Sticks was very, very patient. He waited for the Ari to commit. He waited for his team to be in position, and it showed in the team fight. It was as one-sided as it was because the ultimates were utilized so effectively.
Yeah, there's been a lot of really good ultimate usage that the later this game went. I think really the only really rough one that we saw is I saw that Death Instinct. The only rough ultimate that we really saw was just that dive in the mid lane that did go wrong. From then on, No Quarter has basically been in the driver's seat for this game, and I don't think there's a realistic time where they're not going to be in the driver's seat for this game.
That is certainly how it's feeling right now. Dragon spawning now in just under 30 seconds. The Sticks is, where's the real one? I believe that's the real one in the mid lane there. They are going to be able to lock down this tier 2 in the top side. Svoboda with the teleport, able to join up with the team if that is going to be the call, or they could just let the Scion keep split pushing. You know, that is another option, right, for No Quarter Gaming, is you could actually give up this Dragon in exchange for utilizing that Baron buff to destroy some more turrets. Looks like that is potentially actually going to be the call here, as Level LOL immediately onto the objective, right on spawn here, and they have a decent amount of control in the river.
I almost... Okay, Scion's going to be... Yeah, no, they're fighting
We are going for the fight after all, Thousand Eyes. They're looking like they're sandwiched in here. The monster flake from Svoboda directly onto the back line. Death Instinct diving forward. The Pyke, ooh, not quite able to secure that kill on the Aphelios, as Skizzo still alive over here. Balin, though, already using the Cyclone. He's going to get cut down. Misfortune. Muzra picks up that kill. Number 8 for the MF, for the AD carry of No Quarter.
Yeah.
They once again went out in the team fight, and they're gonna send the jungler back towards the Dragon, but honestly, it's probably not even necessary.
Yeah, this game is pretty much all but finished here. A really solid fight. Once again, just engage tools working out. When you don't force those powerful ultimates out before a fight, you're gonna end up falling behind in these fights, as we do see the Wind go over, the Dragon go over, and the immediate TP topside. Once they know that the Lissandra is not needed anymore, they have her TP up to that top side to finish off that inhibitor immediately. I love that call. It just forces more and more tempo that Level LOL can't keep up with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a good macro call from ProTide, just having that good understanding of how much control that they had over the map and what he is actually allowed to get in that instance, and being able to lock down that inhibitor is going to mean that the siege now going forward for No Quarter Gaming is going to be much, much easier, especially since that Baron buff has now worn off.
Yeah. Should be still a little bit rough here as we do. Look, it is over 10k advantage in the gold here.
Oh, it's exploded now.
It's really a problem. Like you're just fighting down a quarter of the gold that you have against your opponents right now, and that's not a fun time.
It's real tough. It's real tough. But at the same time, it does feel like No Quarter Gaming are playing this out very, very aggressively. They're actually not very interested in sieging without Baron. They feel like maybe that's just a little bit too risky. So They're just kind of pushing waves for now. Not really looking for too much at the moment. Oh, I
Nope.
take it all back. Here comes the unstoppable onslaught. There's Svoboda looking for the engage level 16 on the Scion. Just look at the size of that health bar. Ornn level down, trying to do his best, trying to do some frontlining here, but there's just zero follow-up whatsoever, and it's going to be a man advantage once again as No Quarter Gaming start to push into the base to look for the end here. Bone Skewer, I don't think is quite going to land there. The Death Sentence onto the Scion, but the Crow Storm from Plasmid sets up for the bullet time, and a nice reaction from Muzra to flash away from the Cyclone will keep him alive. Balin desperately looking to take down that carry, but not quite able to make it happen. Death Instinct charmed up under the Nexus turrets, but he has a GA even. There's that gold lead in action, Thousand Eyes. When the support can afford a Guardian Angel, you know the writing is on the wall. That's going to be the Nexus going down at 31 minutes. No Quarter Gaming, take game one.
Yeah, a really solid game, and I think understanding what their team comp is capable of. And unfortunately, I think for level LOL, they really just needed to recognize, hey, like these are champions that are built around their ultimates for the most part. Pyke is literally an ult bot. Fiddlesticks, pretty much an ult bot. Lissandra really focused on the ult. MF very focused on the ult. Like these are champions that if you can take those big timers off, you're fighting a much weaker champion overall versus like Ari, who can still do her job without the ult. Like the Aphelios doesn't really need the ult at all. Like these are things that you want to really keep in mind when you're fighting against a really strong competition here. I also just, man, I'm sad to see the heart seal in the Scion. I have a lot of opinions on that. I think it would take too long to go through right now, so I'm not gonna go too deep into it.
That's fair. That's fair. And while the heart steel is not necessarily the mythic that you were looking for, Thousand Eyes, there was lots of resistance in the rest of the build, at least, and you know, specifically armor. There was quite a bit of that. So while Svoboda maybe not having the ideal build in your eyes, it certainly was enough to get the job done in this one. And you know, I do think we should also mention, of course, this game was close for quite a while. You know, at least the first 15 minutes or so, we're pretty back and forth. And level LOL, we're finding some nice angles there. But, you know, once we got towards a couple of items on all of these carries, then the team fights certainly did start to look a lot more one-sided. But I do think that level LOL demonstrated that they at least are able to keep pace with No Quarter Gaming. And if the team fights just go a little bit better, if they play a little bit better around their win conditions, you know, as you were illustrating just a minute ago, I definitely think that they have a good shot of coming back here in game two. But we'll get to that in a minute. Before we go to break, Thousand Eyes, I want to get your opinion on who you think from No Quarter Gaming is deserving of a player of the game here for this first one.
I think it's Death Instinct. I think a little bit of sloppy play, a little bit too deep here and there, but overall just incredibly huge one fights with that ultimate just coming out. Not only just winning the fights by getting the kills with the ultimate, but getting that extra gold across the team. Big shout out though to Plasmid hitting a lot of really good Fiddlesticks ults as the game went further on.
100%. I like it. Death Instinct, you know, as we mentioned during the cast as well, very, very strong presence in the laning phase, really putting on a lot of pressure. And we saw him really popping off in those team fights as well. So I like it a lot. Death Instinct having a phenomenal performance. But, you know, when you have a team fighting composition like this, Thousand Eyes, it's in the name, right? It's team fighting. And the whole team really popping off here for this first one for No Quarter Gaming. But we are going to go now to a short break while we get set up for game two. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to Style Esports. We are just getting ready to hop into our Game 2 draft. We are swapping sides for this second game. Level LOL opting to move over to the blue side for this one. Makes a lot of sense, I think. What are your thoughts, Thousand Eyes?
Yeah, I think makes a lot of sense here. Here's what I want to see. Last time we didn't get the Jinx, and I'm
True.
confused about that. I don't think Aphelios is as strong as Jinx right now. I think you just take Jinx. Jinx is a blue side first pick.
Yeah,
like you just take it if it's
kind
open.
of crazy, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen it many times in the pro scene, just over the last few months. And, in solo queue as well. She's obviously been really popping off. So, yeah, it was, I agree, very, very surprising to see her slip through that last draft. We'll see if Level LOL are going to want to opt in for that one here on the blue side. Nope, going to be the Sejuani instead.
Huh. Which that was banned last time. And I believe it was Level LOL that banned it, even. Because they banned the fiddlesticks this time.
Yes, you are 100% correct. They banned it from red side.
They banned it from red side. They're first picking it now. I don't know why.
Interesting. I wonder if this is like a big comfort pick for
I'm assuming it is.
No, not especially. I'm not really finding anything in the OPGG here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Sejuani. Well, it could be a Sejuani flex.
Fuego doesn't have it.
And Fuego both play it.
I see no Sejuani in anybody's play history, so I don't know exactly why we're favoring the Sejuani, but
hard
we
to say for sure.
Regardless, Seraphine also picked up
Diana going to be. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Seraphine Diana. Seraphine probably. I think I'm gonna actually double check on this quick here. I would assume this is probably mid lane. I think Seraphine is not a good support anymore, and I don't think playing her support is a good idea. But yeah, it does look like Protide does have that one in the play history. It's the next one after the Zoe one trick that he is. But more importantly, the Seraphine did get banned in the second phase last time, so it makes sense why they're wanting to pick it up right now. They picked that up. Diana going to be going in the jungle as well, and you do have opportunity to then go for, once again, a really strong team fight composition that's very R button focused.
Absolutely. And, I have also seen in actually some other leagues that I cast, Seraphine bot carry is kind of in a decent place right now, I think. So support, maybe not quite as much, certainly not as strong as it used to be, but I do think that you are probably correct in your assessment here that it is going to be the Seraphine into the mid lane in this case. Response from Level LOL, the Lovers duo, the Zyra Khan, going to be locked away for the bottom lane this time around, hoping to have a stronger laning phase than they did in game number 1.
Yeah, so right now, we have a little bit of a strong laning phase here now for our Level LOL, where we didn't before. We're getting the Thresh pickup here. Once again, this is a little bit funky, because to me, like, okay, maybe... I don't get it. Why are we avoiding the Jinx?
You're really getting hung up on this.
I'm getting because it's really good, dude.
Here, listen. Like, these teams, they're not the highest ranked teams that we have.
But it's good
here in Style Esports. I know. But hey, listen. In lower elo especially, I do think that comfort is extremely important. And while yes, the Jinx is extremely strong right now. She's very meta. She does a lot of things very well. But if these players are not confident on their ability to pilot her to that level, then I understand why they would feel like they're not getting the value out of that pick.
Okay, it's banned now, but it's Schizo's second most played champion in ranked with a 61% win rate.
Disregard everything I just said.
Okay.
Okay.
Regardless, the Tristana getting picked up here. That's fine. Tristana is okay. Does kind of have a little bit of a stronger lane phase, does have really good late game as well. The bigger thing then is that you do have to really time that jump away very carefully, because you will be in trouble if you do mess that up. Gwen gonna get locked in for the top side. This is a blind top side pick here.
Indeed.
Unless they're really gonna mess with me and put the Gwen like mid or something, or put it in the jungle. I just had to cast a jungle Gwen game and I lost my mind.
Dear, yeah, that doesn't sound necessarily
it won
good.
And I was upset about it because it didn't do much.
Yeah, I guess, is that worse, actually, the fact that it won? No, we're getting a little bit off track here.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Talia that comes in on B5 for level LOL in the mid lane. So again, they do have, well, actually, I guess it was the side of No Quarter Gaming that had the mid jungle double AP in the previous one. This time around, I mean, Sejuani, I guess, more of a tank than really an AP threat, but still, you get my point. Now we just have to see what is going to be this R5 pick, the Syndra. Going to be locked away into the Talia. What do we think about this R5 pick? Thousand Eyes.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, pretty solid. Syndra still gives really good gank setup, which Diana does appreciate, especially before 6, before she has that ultimate ready. On the other side, too, Syndra does have a lot more time that she needs to scale in order to do what she did previously. Obviously, she has changed and got that little rework that did give her a scaling option, made her much more of a late game champion rather than the early game she was focused on. And I think what this is going to mean then is it's just going to be a farm lane in the mid lane. Talia should have a little bit of an advantage early on because first Evo, or whatever you want to call the splinters, before the Q gets that upgrade, you are stuck with one Q, and it's a longer cooldown, meaning you can't control waves as well in the Syndra.
Wait, hang on a second, Thousand Eyes. If Syndra is going mid lane, where is Seraphine going?
Your commands tire me.
What's happening? Is it Syndra top?
The game? Can I leave?
Is Syndra
guess
top
so?
a Gwen counter?
I don't know. It doesn't sound like it. You just hit W and avoid the stun.
Does it? Yeah. I mean, Gwen seems like she'd be pretty immune to a lot of what Syndra is trying to do.
She's immune to literally everything.
Well,
that's her shtick.
Except for things that are inside her circle, right?
So here's the thing. I'm looking at picks right now. It looks like they picked Protide's champion twice because Zoe was banned. Next most played with 12 is Seraphine.
So they just forgot
next
what
most
they
played
still needed
after
to lock
that.
in?
Yeah, I don't know. Next most played, so it was Seraphine, and then also at 12 games is Syndra. I'm looking right now at Subota's. Yeah. There's nothing there to indicate that any of those champions would be played. There is 3 Sejuani games.
All right, well, Thousand Eyes, it appears we may have solved the mystery. It's going to be the Tristana, in fact, that gets flexed into the Gwen in the top lane. So and it's going to be either the Seraphine, probably the Syndra is going to be in the bottom lane. Yeah, I guess both were played by the mid laner there. So it is, in fact, going to be the Seraphine in the bottom lane. So, let's, I guess, go back and reassess everything here. Let's start in the top lane. Tristana into Gwen. How do we feel?
Warped my worldview right now. I am adjusting to whatever dimension we have entered. I don't think Tristana into Gwen is terribly great. Now,
it's a very aggressive option.
So here's the thing that gets really weird about it. Tristana has to commit if she's going to do damage to Gwen. Because what's going to happen, what I would imagine happens in this lane, Tristana puts E on the Gwen, Gwen hits W. You can no longer auto-attack her unless Tristana jumps in, which is very risky because Gwen, if you jump in, you are now just a sitting duck for a full Gwen Q if that is charged up. So I would think that this is not exactly the greatest opportunity for Tristana unless there's a little bit of a mistake from the Gwen or you take advantage of that W cooldown. You can just use the E, force the W from Gwen, and then wait your E cooldown. That Gwen W is a very long cooldown, and then abuse that fact. There's a lot of weird play between the two that I think it's going to be very much an understanding of what are your cooldown timers, and if you know those, you can try and make something happen there, but otherwise it's going to be a little bit messy.
Yeah, I will say one thing that I think the Tristana does have going for her in this matchup is I do think she can be much stronger in the early game than something like the Gwen. So I'm expecting a pretty aggressive rune selection here from the Tristana top, probably either the Press the Attack or the Hail of Blades to try and just put on a ton of early pressure and try and basically keep Fuego from participating in the video game. That is kind of maybe... the best way that I can make sense of it.
Early lanes are going to be about spacing. If Tristana can if level 1 to 2 Tristana can keep spacing, there is a lot of pressure that can be put on the Gwen. If they just full on fight and Gwen is in range of the Tristana, that's going to be a Gwen favored fight for sure.
Yeah.
But we have talked enough about the top lane here. We
I suppose.
mid lane, I don't think there's really a whole lot to talk about in the mid lane. These are both kind of
Mhm.
champs that want to scale, champs that clear waves.
Yeah.
Syndra has a little bit more gank presence if she wants to try and roam, but Talia Talia has really good gank presence in the fact that she can roam very easily. Syndra, on the other hand, I think has stronger ganks.
Okay.
She
Yeah,
can
I get
just
your point.
QE.
I get your point.
So I think really that's all that's going to be happening unless there's like major jungle intervention there. Bot lane gets a little weird because Seraphine and Thresh. Seraphine
It is
has
weird.
a lot of one has wave control. Xayah does also have that, so we can just turn that into a farm lane. The other opportunity though is that Thresh CC means that Seraphine's E becomes a lot more powerful, especially if she's using that double E. She can stun somebody, lock them in place, and make life hell for whoever they grab, especially a pre-6 Xayah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Thresh, of course, is going to be swapping sides for this next one. We saw it in the hands of Game 19 in game number 1. This time around, it's going to be Death Instinct picking up the Chain Warden. See what Game 1's MVP is going to be able to get done on the pick and how that duo is going to look down there. But overall, before we go to break once again, Thousand Eyes, I want to get another prediction from you, if I may. Which draft do you like better for Game 2? And I think I might have a suspicion.
Yeah, it's levels. It's levels. That's
yeah.
I'm still think No Quarter as a whole is a bit of a stronger team. I don't like their draft.
Right. Yes. And that was the question. So yeah, I think I'm with you. They're gonna have to prove to us that they know what they're doing with this one. The Tristana top flex into the Gwen, Seraphine paired up alongside the Thresh in the bottom lane, and a couple of scaling AP options for the mid jungle. The game 1 ended up being fairly convincing in the end. We'll see if the player and team diffs are going to be enough to demonstrate the efficacy of this composition. Don't go anywhere, my friends. We will be back onto the Rift momentarily with game 2 of the night. All right, everybody, welcome back. As we mentioned before, swapping sides for this second game, level LOL over to the blue side. And we do have No Quarter Gaming on the red this time around. And they have a very, very interesting draft, Thousand Eyes, as we were just discussing. And it's going to be pretty fun, at least in my eyes, to see how it all ends up working out.
Sejuani is Conqueror.
Oh, she does, doesn't she? Yeah, that is a little bit unusual for the Sejuani, I think. And I don't. It seems not ideal into the enemy composition, I must say.
Yeah,
Would
there
you
are
like
a
to
lot of
explain,
things.
Thousand Eyes, why it's not ideal?
Aftershock good.
Well, yes, that is true. But specifically, the Conqueror is not good, I believe, because there are lots of range champions. And when there are lots of range champions, it's hard to actually get on top of them to stack up your Conqueror. And if you're not stacking up your Conqueror, then it's not really doing a whole lot for you. So we'll see if Balin is actually going to be able to get some use out of that rune choice. It is certainly, again, an interesting decision that has come out from one of our teams. As Gain 19 going to get off to a very nice start here as he finds the grand entrance onto Muzra. And this is going to be a different look for the AD carry of No Quarter Gaming. You know, we've seen them pop off a couple of times in a row now on the Misfortune, but the Seraphine, a very, very different, is it actually that different of a playstyle? You have a big AoE teamfight ultimate. You're kind of a lane bully. What are your thoughts there? Hook lands.
Oh, yeah, well,
it's okay. He's recording. It's fine.
Yeah, so I don't hate the concept of what this team can do. Like, these champions all together kind of just do what you would expect them to do. The big thing that I'm worried about for No Quarter here is they don't have great front line. It is really about, like, hey, we have to kill them in our spell rotation or we do just lose the game.
Balin into the mid lane. Going to get that flash out of Protide as the seismic shove comes down. Balin does take a turret shot for their trouble, but a nice exchange, a nice gank from the jungler of level LOL. Some early pressure onto this Syndra could be good news, certainly, but Syndra probably not looking to be too active in the early game regardless. We can see Balin still hovering around this mid lane, hoping to punish that missing summoner spell.
Yeah, we're going to regain.
And looking for it now. Sejuani still having the flash of her own. Sets up beautifully with the Q flash for the shove to land this time around. A lot of patience coming out there from the jungler of level LOL, and it pays off big time.
Yeah, it's a little hard to deal with when you do have that immobile mid laner with a jungler that does have the opportunity to gank early on. So Balin making the most of that. That is a very risky maneuver, though, because if that does not work, you are now just down double CS.
Yeah, as we can see, it's about a 3-camp lead for Plasmid right now in the jungle. Diana known for just causing jungle camps to sort of evaporate when she looks at them. So able to pull ahead in that CS differential pretty comfortably here.
Yeah, right now, it's just going to be I think, pretty straightforward game, at least in terms of what we could see here. Obviously, top lane, we did see what we expected there, which was the Tristana having a really solid early game, just keeping that spacing. Now, the question does become, can that continue as the game goes on? Because the Gwen W will make things a little bit more finicky for her.
It's really interesting as well because the Tristana is the sole AD threat, right? With the AP option in the bottom lane as well as the AP mid and jungle. That's a lot of magic damage. And Svoboda up here on this top side is under a lot of pressure to actually have a really good game here in order to make this team composition function.
Absolutely.
To the extent that it is a team composition and can function.
Yeah. I mean, like, you do have, like, engage opportunities. Seraphine ult into a Diana ult into Syndra QE. Like, that's a lot of just AoE damage. Tristana to then clean up after that with the resets. Like, there's logic to this team composition. It's just definitely very funky how they've put it together, and does have a little bit of weirdness in terms of just the laning matchups.
You're coming around a little bit, huh, Thousand Eyes? You're starting to see the lines here for No Quarter Gaming, perhaps?
I don't like that
you're
putting
grand
these
entrance
words in my mouth.
in the bottom lane. What was that? Sorry.
I don't like that you're putting these words in my mouth.
Well, you're more than welcome to deny the words if you feel like they don't accurately represent your feelings.
Yeah.
And in fact, I hope that you would do so.
Yeah.
But we
I
are
mean,
seeing...
I still am a little just iffy about the top lane matchup because I feel like that's one of those, like, it's like Vayne top, right? Like if you get ganked a lot,
Sure.
you just don't do anything. Speaking of
Oh,
ganks,
no flash still for Pro Tide. And ultimate available for Asphyxia. Balin, though, of course, still level 4 on the set. Wanting the shove. It's going to land. And that gets Pro Tide exactly where Asphyxia wanted him. That's kill number 2 for the Talia in the mid lane.
yeah, another gank. Really heavy focus on getting this Talia ahead here, and it's so far working out very cleanly. Here's where things get interesting in this top lane here. Fuego able to push off this Tristana pretty cleanly. Just had to have that opportunity to get in on the Tristana here. Should just be the back and probably a TP if Gwen tries to force this, or if Gwen freezes this, just going to be a walk back to lane.
Yeah, and it is the lethal tempo for Svoboda here on the Tristana, so not the early aggressive rune that I was kind of hoping to see, but obviously, you know, as I also was kind of just mentioning, with the fact that the Tristana is the only AP, or AD threat, rather, you know, maybe that does make a little bit more sense in terms of being able to carry those late game fights. So what do you think about that rune option for Svoboda up here? Oh, going in, hang on a second, with the rocket jump, gonna get the reset on the jump as well. Gwen is immune, but how immune is she really? As Svoboda picks up the kill, flashes away from the turret aggro. Sejuani is here, but still no Glacial Prison for Balin. I don't think he's gonna be able to chase down this kill. He wants it. He's gonna have Flash coming up pretty soon. Gets the slow. Svoboda, though, able to get underneath the turret back towards safety, and the solo kill is clean for the top laner of NQG. Oh, and the Sejuani might be in trouble now. Unleashed power available for Pro Tide, but the Sejuani a little bit too healthy. She's going to be able to dash back over the wall and is totally fine.
Yeah, just going to be the back away here. I also want to point out, we do have the Bomby Cinder Rush.
Gonna have to stop you once again here, unfortunately, Thousand Eyes, as Asphyxia now is the one in trouble. Flashes away from that death sentence, but the collapse is very much coming through. Plasmid, the E over the wall, the Lunar Rush, very, very nice. Gets the Moonfall onto the Talia. Asphyxia already expending the Flash, nowhere left to go for the mid laner, and that is a nice shutdown now over to Plasmid on this Diana. Pretty big.
Yeah, a lazy push there from Asphyxia does get punished really hard there. Good.
Should be
good pickup there, and that's just going to be the dragon picked up there for Plasmid, who does once again have the Bomby Cinder on this Diana here. So just going for a full tank Diana to try and give a little bit more. A little bit funky, but I think I don't hate it here. Just with the
certainly the tank option for Plasmid this time around. Sorry.
Yeah, you have the Gwen that's going to be doing a lot of damage and trying to frontline and healing so much. The Sejuani going to be a pretty solid frontliner as well for the side of Level LOL. So I don't dislike this pickup. It just is adding more uniqueness to this game.
Absolutely. We'll see if the tank Diana is going to be able to do some nice frontlining for the squad. You know, obviously, when you already have all of this magic damage in the composition, you know, you really don't need to be going full damage on the Diana. So I actually think it makes quite a bit of sense. I kind of like it.
Yeah. So we'll see how that works out. I also want to point out, too, there is a distinct difference in the farm here between Balin and Plasmid, and that is going to come into play as we get to objectives here, because already one of the first upgrade on the smite here for the Diana, and probably going to get that second upgrade pretty quickly as well, because Diana does clear fast.
Oh, Death Sentence lands onto Balin. Sejuani getting flayed backwards, flashing away. Unleashed power comes out, not enough to finish the kill, and now the charm onto Plasmid. Diana now has to flash away, staying alive, just barely enough HP there with the Bombies to survive. Encore comes out, does tag the Sejuani with the Death Sentence follow-up, not quite there, doesn't matter. Muzra still able to lock down that kill, and then the flay to get Asphyxia backwards. But the seismic shove and counterattack as Muzra has to flash away now. Very back and forth fight in the mid lane there. Turns into a 1-for-1.
Yeah, a good fight on that mid lane. Fuego a little bit scary there, and they're just gonna stay on this top side or on this mid lane here and continue to try and.
That was scary for Asphyxia there as well. Almost landing the scatter was Pro Tide.
So, overall, a decent win there, I think, for the side of level as they're going to just try and chase Svoboda. Gain 19 does have
Yeah,
flash.
the flash for the grand entrance. That is going to be gain 19. Getting the knock up at Plasmid here for the counter.
Diana?
Moonfall, pretty good. A lot of return damage, but the Tristana has been taken down. And Plasmid, only with a Bombies here, doesn't really have the DPS necessary to continue this fight. And it's a nice gank from Level LOL. Gain 19 in particular. Doing a great job of setting that one up.
Yeah, gain 19. Flash W, really good ult from the Tristana, not in time to stop the knock-up, and will end up getting the loss of life there on the top side. Svoboda will be okay with that, though. Just has to go back to the top side and continue the pressure on here, because if you just look at the farm difference and the plate difference, that is 1,000 gold that is in favor of this Gwen. On top of that kill, picked up too. Asphyxia also going to get hooked.
There's going to be a hook landing onto Asphyxia. Yeah, Asphyxia may be in trouble here. The seismic shove will land onto the Seraphine, excuse me, but I don't know if it's going to be enough as the lantern is clicked upon, and Asphyxia without the flash has nowhere to go. Muzra picks up the last hit, number 2 for the Seraphine.
Yeah, really important the Thresh keeps the Seraphine in that fight, and the Talia from getting away there. Make sure that Seraphine does have the opportunity to get that spell rotation back off cooldown and take that kill. And that will be a win for No Quarter once again.
Really nice hide on bush gaming there from Death Instinct. You know, unfortunately for Asphyxia, no vision in that bush. And Thresh doesn't miss those. At least not this time. Death Instinct nails it. As you highlighted, very nicely orchestrated by the support for No Quarter Gaming. And also, you know, this Tristana is doing a lot of work on this turret, Thousand Eyes.
Yeah, and this is what gets a little funky too, because now you have no W on the Gwen. Means you can't really go and get in range of this Tristana at all. Had to use it just to farm. That's what's keeping Fuego from really being aggressive in this lane at all, unless there's outside help. Speaking of outside help, look up on that top side. There's a Thresh up there.
Look who's there. Yes, indeed. If Fuego wants to try anything aggressive here, or if a jungler wants to try and gank, it's going to be just the look onto the Gwen instead. She is immune from death sentences, but the reset on the jump, it's Svoboda with the buster shot as well to secure that kill. Meanwhile, the cross map on the other side, it is Level LOL looking for the Seraphine. They will be able to find her as the teleport has come through from Protide to defend. Not in time to save his bot laner, but should... Ooh, is the Syndra going to be in trouble now? Is the question.
She can clear these waves
right here. But yes, she can move forward, keep the wave off the turret. Good heads up from Protide to stay safe in that scenario.
Yeah, so overall, that is still a 1 fight for the side of No Quarter, because they do get that tower on the top side. A good response there to kill that Seraphine, but it is still generally the team that gets the first pull on those fights that ends up with the win. They will get a dragon for their troubles, and that does stop the early stacking.
Indeed.
That did come through. So that is a nice win for them as well. But overall, yeah, No Quarter, once again, controlling this game from a macro perspective.
1,800 gold difference right now in that top lane, or just abouts, right around there. And I think I am starting to understand this Tristana top option more and more, Thousand Eyes. While Gwen may be immune, her tower most certainly was not. And being in a melee versus ranged matchup, it's really hard for Gwen to push out in that sort of scenario. Svoboda flashing forward, the Featherstorm forced out by Shizo. And that was the flash expended from Svoboda in exchange for just the Xayah ultimate. So maybe not the greatest of trades, but we can see how strong this Tristana is, and Svoboda really wanting to flex that. Oh, in the top side, Fuego in danger. Once again, Plasmid going to go in with the Moonfall. Gwen running out of HP, but able to back away just in time as Balin was here for the counter gank. Again, the Sejuani is in the right place at the right time here to defend, but it's still feeling like it's No Quarter Gaming with the slightly better angles here, the slightly better macro, as you just mentioned, Thousand Eyes, across the map.
Yeah, it's just always defensive responses here. Like, it's always... level just responding instead of pulling out something for themselves. They never feel like they're in a position where they can take an advantage here. As after those 2 ganks in the mid lane, it has just been No Quarter kind of controlling the game. That's why we're seeing this Rift Herald going to go down. Plasmid picks it up.
Okay, that's going to be the attempted lockdown onto the Diana. She was able to secure the Herald. Might have to sacrifice herself for it, but we've got a TP coming down as Tristana wants to join the fray.
Big charm.
And Svoboda, so powerful right now. That's a beautiful flay from Death Instinct onto 4. That's so much CC. The Grand Entry from Gate 19 to try and counterattack, but that one only landed onto 1. And now Svoboda has the resets, gets another kill with the Buster Shot. It's a double for the Tristana. 4-1 now for Svoboda. And it's once again, it's just like game number 1, Thousand Eyes. It is level LOL looking for the play, but it's No Quarter Gaming winning the fight.
Yeah, and that felt like it could have just gone so different here. Schizo just gotta pick up the kill on Death Instinct. That was a little bit too greedy there from Death Instinct. But what that whole fight there was just, it started off as a misplay from Plasmid, not getting the Rift Herald, having to go back, pick it up, and then not getting the Lantern to get out. But an amazing Seraphine ult there from Muzra, hitting 3 of the 4 people in that fight to just change things around, give No Quarter the opportunity to kind of reset, and Plasmid almost surviving that. Thresh getting that amazing play that you talked about, and then just easy pickings there for Protide and Svoboda to just get through the rest of that fight. A really nice job there from No Quarter, and that's why they're just continuing to build this lead that they have currently at about 3K.
I love that you mentioned the encore there, Thousand Eyes. It's something that I didn't call out in the play-by-play, but absolutely that, once again, it's Muzra with these teamfight ultimates, just lining it up there, providing so much CC and setting up for the flay to come through from Death Instinct. And also, the tank build for Plasmid, despite the misplay at the beginning that you also called out, the Sunfire allowed the Diana to survive for long enough for the team to come in and collapse and actually end up winning out in that scenario.
Yeah, it definitely has its purpose in this team composition. Does give a little bit of extra beefiness, and obviously now we're going for that demonic as we're going to get another fight here.
Yeah, this is dangerous. Oh, the moonfall onto 3 from Plasmid, and then the fight is over before it even began. Svoboda coming in over the wall with a rocket jump, gain 19, desperately trying to run, but the death has been sentenced by the Instinct himself. It is a 3-0 and a clean pickoff of level LOL by No Quarter Gaming in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, and I think honestly, what's really interesting about this is a team that knows what to do with a lead, right? So many times, especially in your solo queue games, you get the teams that want to just kind of ARAM and they win in lane and they try to win off of that and just continue to just force things over and over again. They don't make plays with the advantage that they have. And No Quarter has done that very well this game. Multiple times we've seen them set up in bushes and end up winning off of that because they know that they have the lead. They know they have the cooldowns to take these fights and setting up in those bushes to try and then set up for the exact fight that they need.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now after this game number 1, and, after watching the first 18 minutes or so of this game 2, it's starting to feel like the rank differential that we kind of highlighted at the beginning of the stream is coming into play here. I guess with this opponent, level LOL, maybe just biting off slightly more than they could chew, just not quite ready perhaps to face down the strength of No Quarter Gaming.
Yeah, and we'll see a little bit of ground gained here for the side of level as they are going to try and take this top lane tower. They're going to give up, that dragon as they know they really don't have an opportunity to try and fight that. Cooldowns are all back up by No Quarter, so they're just not going to win a fight. This is another game where they have the more skirmishy team composition, the less ult reliant composition. And Schizo
force forward. Yeah. Oh, but the immediate Buster Shot and response Blade Caller not going to get the Root the Needlework now committed as well. That will get the flash out from Svoboda, who did not have the rocket jump. But look at what's happening in mid. Oh dear, both of the bot laner and the top laner are trying to chase down Svoboda. Now Plasmid is here, beautifully done, waiting on the bird lady to come back down out of the sky and then committing the moonfall. That is going to be a dead marksman, and that is going to be No Quarter Gaming pushing down the bot lane, looking for a kill on Fuego here as well. Gwen trying to flash away, but Death Instinct says no. Get on back over here with the hook, but the Gwen still able to skip and slash her way back towards a safety. Will survive that attempt on her life. Death not sentenced this time around, I suppose, despite the hook connecting. but still a couple of more turrets going over to No Quarter Gaming, and they've extended the gold lead Thousand Eyes to about 7K.
Yeah, that's where the death has been sentenced, to spin on those towers, and that's the aggression that you saw on the bot side. I like the look, but immediately once that Tristana does get out of range, you don't commit the Gwen ult there, because really, even if you get the kill, you're leaving your mid lane wide open. Nobody's covering that, and somebody has to be there. So that's a little bit of a lack of communication there, to have that coverage there to cover what is just gonna get absolutely destroyed if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, that is pretty much how it went down, it seems. You know, they should have been aware, as you're highlighting, that No Quarter Gaming were, you know, just finished taking that tier 2 in the mid lane, and there was a very, very real possibility that they were rotating down into the bot lane to look for a punish, and it was not respected by Level LOL. They paid a price for it, and now it's going to be the T1 Baron at just past 21 minutes secured for No Quarter Gaming. And this game, too, is actually looking even a little bit more one-sided than our first one, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's not really looking great here. I think the bigger difference that I think last time we saw a couple of good engages, we saw a couple of really good trades and a little bit of good skirmishing from Level. This time around, they've just not had the same success. I think their lead and their kills have been either from fights they've lost or from the early game where they did get those 2 early jungle kills.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like, I do want to say that Level LOL has been making some good calls, but it actually does feel, funnily enough, like they just don't have the tools that are needed to deal with this composition. You know, they fell behind pretty badly in the side lanes relatively early on, and from that point, they just haven't really had the juice. They haven't been able to really do much of anything against this No Quarter Gaming composition. And I mean, No Quarter, respect to them. They've been playing this very unorthodox draft quite nicely. And, you know, some really intelligent itemization, I think, as well, particularly from Plasmid in the jungle there. And they're really showing us. They're making it work.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think the big thing with compositions like this, when they are really like weird and funky, like you do kind of just have a just basic, if you get ahead, you kind of just do win, right? Like you can play a lot of things that if they get ahead, they do just kind of win. I think what's more important is the way that they're playing, and that is what is really carrying this game right now.
Glacial Prison committed in the mid lane, but the Encore in response, doesn't find a target with that one.
That's a big cooldown.
Expended, yeah, by No Quarter Gaming, but the Glacial Prison obviously utilized as well. Kind of a trade of ultimates there, neither one finding too much purchase. Waiting now for another minion wave for NQG.
Here's the thing. They're both big cooldowns, but it's more important for Level because they're one really strong engage.
It's going to be Sejuani going in, but gets a death sentence. Flashing away now to stay alive, and Fuego is going in. Has a lot of damage with a needlework. Talia able to get that first kill of the fight, but the Sejuani is going to get traded back. A19 now, and the front line is going to get cut down as well. It's a absolute chaos in this one, but that is exactly where Tristana thrives. It's going to be Svoboda picking up the resets, and it's going to be No Quarter Gaming cleaning up in one more team fight. It was a valiant attempt from Level LOL. They were able to get at least a couple of kills there, but ultimately, Thousand Eyes, not enough.
Yeah, we're going to get one kill off that, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty nice setup from Asphyxia to actually try and defend the Nexus turrets, but the Talia all on her lonesome. Is she going to be able to continue to hold on here? The retreat is going to be sounded for No Quarter Gaming. They're going to move back towards this dragon. Not comfortable to end with just Tristana and Seraphine.
Yeah, so and it's mostly just like you have Sejuani coming back up here. You don't want to try and just sneak this. I think what's important here is that fight was probably the best fight that we have seen from Level, and it's partially because we did see Gwen get in the middle of that fight, not only doing a lot of damage, but healing a lot of damage as well, being enough of a front line. Balan was engaged on, a lot of cooldowns put into that Sejuani, took a while to take the Sejuani down, and then also we did have Schizo then firing through the entire enemy team. I think genuinely there was an opportunity there for Schizo to win that one full out. I didn't see exactly where the feathers were, but Schizo was in a position where if that stun didn't hit, there was an opportunity to at least get a couple more kills out of that fight and make it a little more even, if not maybe pull off a major win there.
Yeah, it was definitely very close. That last one, very chaotic, and lots of low health bars on both sides. So if Level LOL are able to string a couple more of those together, there's still a chance, but they're staring down Cloud Soul now. Even if they are able to hang on for the next 4 minutes, they're going to have to eventually venture out of their base into this very dark and scary jungle to try and contest that one. Although I suppose they could just give it up, but at that point, like, where do you make your stand? And the Glacial Prison not going to find purchase there.
So without that Glacial Prison, the big thing that you have is the Rakan ultimate. And what's also important about that Glacial Prison is the Radiant Virtue built by the Sejuani. So you're also losing out on that item. So that's a lot burnt there just for nothing.
Just wide right instinct. And yeah, that Glacial Prison being on cooldown definitely is a big hindrance to Level LOL's ability to defend. We did see it utilized early in the previous fight as well, though, and that one was still very close. It will actually be a No Quarter Gaming giving up on that siege for now. They see Baron coming up in 45 seconds, and they say that's our ticket to try and close this game out.
Yeah, and this is still, once again, just very, very No Quarter favored. They have the tools to force fights, and it's very similar to last game. They have the R buttons. They have the Seraphine ult. They have the Diana ult. Those are the really big ones that they could just take and force fights and win them single-handedly with that. It just kind of depends on if they can get it in the right spot, because that last fight did not hit the amount of people that they really needed to, and that's why it was so close.
Yeah, certainly the case. Well, we'll have to track if those ultimates do land on some more targets in these upcoming fights for both teams, honestly, and needing to find some good angles, particularly for Level LOL to try and come back. But it looks like they're not even going to come in here to contest Thousand Eyes. I mean, I kind of feel like maybe you needed to contest this Baron. What are your thoughts?
You do, but how do you do it? Because if you go over and you just like toggle vision here, it's so scary. You don't know where anybody is, and we've seen them pull bush tricks before. So
that's true.
There's not a real safe way to get in there. The big way that you'd be able to do so is by pushing that mid lane, but because there's super minions in that mid lane, it's tough.
Glacial Prison lands in the mid lane. Protide in trouble, has the flash. Will flash away from the grand entrance, but the quickness coming out now. So much burned. And Syndra is running out of abilities to try and get away, but that was quite the commitment, and the rest of the team already pushing down the top side, looking to blow up this second inhibitor. A 2-inhibitor game now for No Quarter Gaming, looking to potentially lock down this third. They still have 2.5 minutes on the Baron. They're looking for the Sejuani first. Balin dashing away. The rocket jump has been reset for Svoboda, and the hook lands over the wall, but the follow-up not quite there just yet. Plasmid coming in with the Lunar Rush, looking to finish off that jungler. Will be able to do so. Great interest now on the Sejuani. Oh, and Plasmid going back in with the Moonfall onto 2. The Sejuani front line getting out a good amount of damage, and Svoboda is there for the follow-up, able to take down the top laner. The reset.
We are going deep here, buddy.
Entrance underneath the inhibitor turret is going to spell the demise of the Tristana. And it's a 3-for-2 overall. So again, Level LOL valiantly trying to hold the line here at the last possible point of defense. But the teleport now coming through as Protide has respawned straight onto the minion there. Death Sentence not going to land. Probably not going to matter. This is looking like it might be the end of the game, Tessa, as one more desperate quickness from Game 19. The Bird couple trying their absolute hardest to hold on to the game, but they're not going to be able to do it. And it will be No Quarter Gaming taking the 2-0.
Yeah, No Quarter, I think, flexing their just game knowledge here throughout this series. They ran a very weird composition, but they still played it correctly. They played it well. We saw the bush cheese. We saw pretty much everything. They understood what their cooldowns were that they needed to use, and they played around them. And I think, while they did get a little bit funny as their diving towers, playing a little bit over aggressive, No Quarter obviously knows their stuff, and they did come into this game very ready to win.
They sure did. No Quarter obviously suffering that defeat last week and not wanting to make a repeat of that. So coming in tonight, as you say, ready to go, ready to play, and they were very coordinated, and they caught both us and most likely Level LOL off guard as well with that second draft. But it definitely felt like something that they had prepared, that they had practiced a little bit and had in their back pocket. And as you said, they played it out quite nicely. And it is, in fact, going to be Svoboda on that Tristana top in the damage charts, about 19,000.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I would expect Tristana to do that,
Yeah,
especially considering like you're a range champ into a melee champ. Like when you the 2 times where you see damage just go really, really crazy is when you have 2 beefy top laners just duking it out the entire game and they just up their damage because they're constantly hitting each other, or you have a ranged into a melee because it's just a lot of free damage that you can get. So Svoboda obviously played the lane very well, and as such will come out with a large amount of damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Playing out very, very well. Do we have to give it to him? The POG
I think we
Tristana
do.
top? I think we kind of do. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, obviously, Plasmid had a pretty phenomenal game here on the Diana as well, and I think Death Instinct, while the Thresh wasn't flawless, certainly a lot of those hooks did land.
Lane did really well. Like, I want to give a lot of credit.
They did.
Seraphine,
they did very well, yes.
Mazra did a really good job doing what Seraphine needs to do. It's just also still Seraphine compared to a Tristana popping off in those fights, getting the jumps, winning that lane as well as Svoboda did. Please, that name is really hard to say. God. Okay. But Tristana obviously I think did really well. I think Seraphine did her job, but Tristana was just doing her job and then some.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Thousand Eyes. The burden of execution, I think, was a little bit heavier for Svoboda. If the Tristana top did not do well, ended up falling behind and not having a huge impact, that would have been like a critical failing then of this composition overall. So I think a well-deserved POG over there to the top laner for No Quarter Gaming. But again, really well played, overall from the entire team. And they really demonstrated that, they're here to play. They're moving forward. They're looking towards the rest of Season 15 here in style. And they're going to pull out some unorthodox stuff. They're going to hit you with some stuff off the wall. And if you're not ready for it, this can happen. They can run away with the 2-0s. But yeah, do you have any final thoughts, any closing thoughts on our match tonight, Thousand Eyes, or any thoughts in general? As of course, as we mentioned at the beginning of the stream, you were away for a little while. So any thoughts on being back, or yeah?
I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to cast games again. I'm scared of what some of these compositions can end up being, and I guess I'll learn as I go here.
Yeah, you were a little thrown, it seemed, by some of the decisions that were being made in this one, but that's to be expected, I think. After being away for a little while, you just got to reacclimate yourself to how our teams do things here, and that, of course, is in style. So, thank you for joining me tonight, Thousand Eyes. Welcome back. Glad to have you once again, and great job to our teams as well. They gave us some entertaining League of Legends in particular. Of course, congratulations in order towards No Quarter Gaming for the 2-0. Very, very well done. But that is going to pretty much do it from us tonight. So from myself, from Thousand Eyes here, from the entire production team at Style Esports, thank you all so very much for watching. We appreciate you. We love you as always. Have a great night. See you next time.